The cold marble floors of the Los Angeles County Clerk's office echoed under my heels as I gripped Fatima's warm hand tightly. My mother's ultimatum still rang in my ears from that fateful night 3 weeks ago when she discovered the truth about me. "Marry him, Maya, or you will destroy everything we have built," she had hissed, her face twisted in a rage born from years of sacrificed dreams and rigid traditions. But today everything would change. I was not walking into this building to sign my future away to a stranger for the sake of family honor. I was here to claim my own life no matter the cost. The weight of that decision had been building for months, ever since the family business began to crumble under the pressure of a damaging lawsuit. My father, a proud man who had immigrated from Vietnam with nothing but ambition, had seen his import company entangled in accusations of shady dealings with suppliers. Though he was innocent, the rumors spread like poison through our community in Orange County. Clients pulled out, partners distanced themselves, and suddenly the perfect solution appeared: a marriage alliance with the son of a wealthy investor who could inject capital and credibility back into the company. Mother-Lon, the iron-willed matriarch who ruled our household with an invisible fist of expectation, saw it as the only way to restore our standing. "Think of your sister, your father, the relatives who look up to us," she would say, her voice laced with guilt that always found its mark. I was 28, successful in my marketing career, living in a nice apartment in LA, but to her I was still the daughter who needed to fulfill her role. The arranged meetings with Alex started innocently enough, dinners where he talked about his tech startups, and I nodded politely, my mind wandering to the woman who held my heart, Fatima. Meeting her at that charity art event had been my undoing, or rather my salvation. She was 30, an African-American painter, whose works captured the struggle of identity and love in vibrant, unapologetic strokes. Our first conversation lasted hours, and soon stolen weekends in her loft studio became my refuge from the performative life I led at home. Every time I left her place, the guilt would hit like a wave. I would drive back to my parents' sprawling house in the suburbs, replaying the laughter we shared, the way her fingers traced patterns on my back, as we talked about dreams that had nothing to do with duty. Fatima never pushed, but her eyes always asked the same silent question: when are you going to stop hiding us? I had no answer, only excuses wrapped in love. The first time I almost told Mother was after a particularly bad argument with her about my single status at 30 being a stain on the family name. I rehearsed the words in the mirror, but when I saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the lines etched from years of fighting to keep our heads above water in a country that still whispered immigrant behind our success, I swallowed them whole. Instead, I buried myself deeper into the lie. I attended the family dinners where Mother paraded Alex like a prize, smiling at his jokes while my stomach twisted. My sister Lynn watched me with knowing eyes but said nothing until one night after Alex left, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You cannot keep pretending, Maya," she whispered. "The community already talks. If they find out about your friend, it will be worse than the business scandal." I snapped back, denying everything, but the fear in her voice mirrored my own. What price was I willing to pay for authenticity in a world that demanded conformity, especially from daughters like me? Fatima sensed the shift during our next meeting. She set down her paintbrush and pulled me close. "If you choose them, I will understand, but do not expect me to wait forever while you break your own heart." Her words cut deeper than any ultimatum from Mother because they were true. I cried that night for the first time in years, realizing the real conflict was not between love and family, but between the Maya who wanted to belong and the Maya who wanted to be free. The days blurred into a cycle of secret calls, hurried goodbyes, and mounting pressure as Mother set the date for the signing. I told myself I could find a way out, that love would wait, but each compromise chipped away at my soul, leaving me hollow and terrified of the day I would have to choose. The betrayal came quietly at first. My cousin, who had always envied my independence, overheard a phone call and saw an opportunity to curry favor with the family elders. She whispered to Mother during a temple visit, and suddenly the walls closed in. Mother confronted me that same evening, her voice low and deadly. "I know about the woman. End it now or watch your father lose everything we fought for." I stood frozen, the weight of her disappointment crushing me. In that moment I saw the true cost, not just financial ruin, but the shattering of the only identity I had ever known as the good daughter. Yet as I drove away from that house, tears blurring the road, I felt a spark of defiance ignite. Fatima's face flashed in my mind, and for the first time I let myself imagine a future where I did not have to choose between pieces of myself. The clerk's office was only steps away now, but the real journey had begun long ago in the quiet battles no one saw. That spark of defiance followed me into the weeks that followed the confrontation, but it was fragile, flickering under the constant assault of family expectations. Mother did not scream or cry, she simply withdrew her affection like a slow poison, turning family dinners into silent battlegrounds where every glance reminded me of my failure. Father avoided my eyes, burying himself in paperwork that no longer mattered without the alliance. Lynn tried to mediate, pulling me aside one afternoon in the garden. "She is doing this because she loves you, Maya," she said, but her voice cracked with doubt. "In our culture, honor is not a choice, it is survival." I wanted to scream that we were in America, not the old country, that times had changed, but the words died in my throat because deep down I understood the fear. The community we belonged to still whispered about daughters who strayed, labeling them selfish or worse, broken. Fatima became my anchor during those dark days. We met in hidden spots, a quiet beach at dusk or her studio where the smell of paint mixed with the scent of her skin. She listened without judgment, holding me as I poured out the guilt that threatened to drown me. "You are not responsible for their mistakes," she said one night, her voice steady as we lay on the couch watching the city lights. But I saw the toll it took on her too, the way her paintings grew darker, reflecting the uncertainty I brought into her life. Her own family was not perfect, her mother a devout woman who attended church every Sunday and prayed for Fatima to find a good man. Fatima had come out years ago and paid the price of strained holidays and careful conversations, but she had never faced the kind of orchestrated pressure I was under. That difference made my love for her feel even more precious and my hesitation even more shameful. I tried to negotiate with Mother in private meetings over tea in the kitchen, where she once taught me to cook traditional dishes. I suggested alternatives, a loan from relatives, a public relations campaign to clear Father's name, anything but marriage. She listened, her hands trembling slightly as she set down her cup. "You think this is only about money," she replied softly. "It is about face, about the respect we lose every day because of whispers. If you refuse, the community will say we raised a daughter who puts herself first." The words landed like stones in my chest because I knew she was right in her world. I left those talks drained, questioning if my happiness was worth the pain I was causing. One evening after a particularly brutal session, I drove straight to Fatima, and for the first time I let myself break completely. She held me through the sobs, whispering promises of a life together. But even then I pulled back, afraid that loving her fully meant destroying everything else. The pressure escalated when Mother announced the engagement publicly at a community fundraiser. Cameras flashed as Alex slipped a ring on my finger, and I smiled through gritted teeth, feeling like an actress in a play I never auditioned for. Later that night, alone in my car, I called Fatima, her voice the only light in the darkness. "I cannot do this much longer," I told her. She replied with quiet strength, "Then come to me for good." The decision hung between us, heavy with the knowledge that choosing her meant walking away from the only family I had ever known. Societal prejudice crept in too, at work where colleagues whispered about my sudden engagement, and the way my boss, a conservative man, hinted that stability looked good for promotions. I felt trapped in a web of expectations where every choice carried a price: my career, my relationships, my peace of mind. Betrayal struck harder than I expected. My cousin, who had leaked the secret to Mother, now spread rumors in the community, framing me as the rebellious daughter tearing the family apart. Calls from aunts and uncles flooded my phone, each one laced with disappointment and thinly veiled threats of disownment. I confronted her at a family gathering, my voice shaking with anger. "How could you?" she shrugged with cold eyes. "Someone had to protect the family from your selfishness." The words stung because part of me wondered if she was right. That night I sat with Fatima in her studio, staring at a half-finished painting of two women embracing under a stormy sky. She took my hand and said softly, "The real betrayal is denying who you are." Her words forced me to face the moral dilemma head-on. Was duty to family a noble sacrifice, or a cage I had outgrown? I left her place with a heavy heart, knowing the coming days would demand a choice that would leave scars on everyone involved. The discovery that followed the public announcement shattered the fragile peace I had clung to. Mother summoned me to the house the next morning, her eyes red from sleepless nights. She held up my phone, which she had taken during a visit the week before, and played a voicemail from Fatima, the one where she said, "I love you and cannot wait to build our life." The room spun as Mother demanded explanations, her voice rising with each accusation. "This is what you choose over your blood." She spat the word lesbian hanging unspoken but heavy between us. I tried to defend myself, explaining that my love for Fatima was real, not a phase, but each word seemed to wound her deeper. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing about the sacrifices she made immigrating, raising us alone after father's health scare, and now this betrayal. The guilt I felt was visceral, a knife twisting in my gut, because I saw the woman who had bandaged my knees and cheered at my graduations now broken by my truth. In the days that followed, the confrontations multiplied. Father, who had always been quiet, finally spoke, his voice thick with disappointment. We came to this country for a better life, not for shame. Lynn sided with them at first, her pleas turning sharp when I refused to end things with Fatima. You are killing mother, she accused during one late-night argument that left us both in tears. I retreated to work, throwing myself into projects to escape. But the rumors had spread there too. Colleagues avoided me or offered pitying looks, and my promotion, which had been all but guaranteed, suddenly stalled. The price of my secret coming out was not just emotional, it was tangible: loss of respect, opportunities, and the safety net I had taken for granted. Fatima stood by me through it all, her strength a lifeline. We spent hours talking about the future. She envisioned a small apartment, shared studio space, weekends without hiding. Yet I saw the strain in her too, the way she checked her own phone for messages from her mother, who had started asking pointed questions about my sudden engagement news. One evening, after a particularly vicious call from an uncle, Fatima held me and said, I am willing to fight for us, but you have to fight too. Her words forced me to confront the internal crisis that had been brewing. Was I selfish for wanting love, or was staying silent the greater sin against myself? I almost gave in that week, agreeing to one last dinner with Alex to buy time, but when he leaned in for a kiss, I pulled away, the revulsion physical. Mother watched from the doorway, her face a mask of triumph and sorrow. The moral dilemmas piled up like stones. I researched support groups for queer children of immigrants, reading stories that mirrored my own pain and resolve. Yet every success story ended with family estrangement, and I wondered if I could survive that void. A close call came when Mother threatened to cut me out of the will unless I signed the papers early. I spent a sleepless night weighing the financial security I had worked for against the freedom Fatima offered. In the end, I chose to delay, but the decision cost me another piece of my soul. The betrayal from within the family deepened when Lynn accidentally forwarded a group chat message where relatives discussed intervention tactics. I confronted her, and for the first time she broke down, admitting her own fears of being tainted by association. We hugged through tears, but the rift remained. As the signing date approached, the tension reached a boiling point. I met Fatima at our favorite cafe, her hand steady on mine. Whatever happens tomorrow, she said, we face it together. Her confidence gave me the courage to start packing a bag in secret, knowing that the choice I was about to make would ripple through every life I touched. The internal war raged on: love versus loyalty, authenticity versus acceptance. But deep down, the spark that ignited at the courthouse door was growing into a flame I could no longer extinguish. Each decision I made carried the weight of consequences. I could already feel the isolation, the judgment, the pain I would inflict. Yet for the first time I felt alive in my defiance. The final weeks before the signing became a battlefield of negotiations and breakdowns. I tried one last appeal to Mother over breakfast, her favorite faux steaming between us. I suggested therapy, family counseling, anything to bridge the gap. She pushed the bowl away, her eyes hard. Therapy will not restore our name, only you can. The conversation ended with her walking out, leaving me to stare at the empty chair where my father used to sit in silent support. That afternoon I drove to Fatima's studio, and we talked for hours about the practicalities. If I chose her a new job, perhaps in another city, the slow rebuilding of ties. She shared her own struggles. Her mother had stopped calling after learning of our relationship through the grapevine, and Fatima admitted the loneliness it brought. Our love, which had once been pure joy, now carried the burden of two families pulling us apart. I made a temporary compromise, agreeing to attend the rehearsal dinner to keep the peace while secretly planning my exit. At the event, Alex was kind, his eyes searching mine for something real. I felt pity for him, caught in Mother's web. But when he proposed a toast to our future, I excused myself to the bathroom, fighting nausea. Lynn followed me, her voice urgent. Do not ruin this for all of us. The pressure from her words, combined with Father's quiet plea later that night, nearly broke me. He pulled me aside in the hallway, his hands shaking. I built this for you children, he said. Do not let it fall because of pride. The moral weight crushed me. Was my happiness worth their lifetime of struggle? I spent the night in my childhood room replaying memories of holidays and sacrifices, wondering if love could ever justify the pain. Fatima's support never wavered, but even she had limits. During a heated discussion, she challenged me directly. If you go through with the signing even for show, I cannot stay and watch you destroy yourself. Her ultimatum mirrored Mother's in its finality, forcing me to see the crossroads clearly. I chose to go along with the preparations, outwardly attending fittings and meetings, while inwardly steeling myself for the truth. The betrayal from my cousin escalated when she leaked photos of me and Fatima from years ago to a family group chat. The fallout was immediate. Mother called, screaming threats of disownment and community shunning. I hung up and drove to Fatima, collapsing in her arms. We cried together, the shared trauma binding us tighter. In quiet moments, I reflected on the broader societal prejudices that fueled the fire. At a community event, I overheard elders decrying modern values as the reason families fell apart. Their words stung because they echoed my own doubts. Yet talking to a queer support group online, I found voices that validated my struggle, daughters who had chosen love and found new families. The decision crystallized during a sleepless night. I would not sign with Alex. The price would be high: lost inheritance, strained relationships, possible career setbacks, but the alternative was a lifetime of regret. Fatima sensed the shift, and we spent the evening planning the next day, her hand in mine, a promise of the happiness waiting. The morning of the signing arrived with clear skies, but my heart heavy with the knowledge that my choice would cause immediate waves of pain. I packed the last of my things and headed to meet Fatima, knowing the confrontation ahead would test every bond one held dear. Each step forward demanded courage, and the acceptance that some relationships might never heal. The morning of the signing dawned bright and unforgiving. I woke in my apartment, the half-packed boxes a silent testament to the life I was about to upend. Mother called 3 times, each message more frantic than the last, reminding me of the time, the venue, the importance of not embarrassing the family. I listened to the last one with Fatima beside me, her presence a quiet strength. We dressed carefully, me in a simple white blouse and slacks, Fatima in a tailored suit that made her look every bit the partner I had always wanted. As we drove to the courthouse, the city blurred past, and I rehearsed the words I would say. The doubts crept in one last time. What if I was wrong? What if love was not enough to fill the void left by family? Fatima squeezed my hand, reading my thoughts. You are not alone anymore, she said softly. That reminder anchored me. At the family home beforehand, the atmosphere was charged. Mother greeted me with forced smiles, adjusting my collar, as if the perfect appearance could fix everything. Father stood by the window, his shoulders slumped. Lynn avoided my eyes, busying herself with flowers. Alex arrived, nervous but polite, unaware of the storm brewing. During the final preparations, Mother pulled me into the study, her voice breaking for the first time. Please, Maya, she begged, do this for us. I almost wavered, seeing the woman who had given everything now pleading, but the image of Fatima waiting outside gave me resolve. I hugged her briefly, whispering I am sorry before walking out. The drive to the courthouse with the family in separate cars felt like a funeral procession. Last-minute doubts assaulted me in the parking lot. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, heart pounding, imagining the scene inside, the shocked faces, the accusations. Fatima waited patiently outside the building, her smile steady when I finally stepped out. We talked briefly about the plan to enter together to declare the truth before any papers were signed. Her support came at a cost. I knew she had skipped an important gallery opening to be here, facing potential backlash from her own circle. As we approached the doors, I saw Mother and the others already inside, through the glass, their figures tense. The final confrontation with my father came in a hushed call he made as I hesitated. Son, he said, using the old term of endearment, do not do this. His words nearly broke me, but I ended the call with tears in my eyes, turning to Fatima. I am ready, I told her. The price of this moment was already evident in the fractured relationships, but the alternative was a life half-lived. We walked the steps hand in hand, the weight of years of hiding lifting with each stride. Inside the waiting area, the family turned as one, their expressions shifting from expectation to confusion to horror as they saw us together. Mother stepped forward, her face pale. What is this, she demanded. I met her gaze steady for the first time. This is me choosing truth. The room erupted in whispers and pleas, but I held firm, the decisions of the past months culminating in this stand. Each character paid their price: mother her pride, father his legacy, Lynn her peace, and I my sense of belonging. Yet in Fatima's grip, I felt the beginning of something new. The notary waited down the hall, the papers for the original marriage untouched. My choice was made, and the consequences would unfold whether I was ready or not. We pushed through the heavy doors into the notary's chamber, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Mother lunged forward, her voice cracking. Maya, stop this madness, you are throwing away your future. Father stood frozen, his face a mask of disbelief, while Lynn covered her mouth in shock. Alex looked between us, confusion turning to hurt as realization dawned. I released Fatima's hand only to stand taller, facing them all. I am not marrying Alex today, or ever, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. I love Fatima, and I am here to sign my own path, not the one you chose for me. The notary, a kind older woman, watched silently as the drama unfolded, her pen hovering over blank documents. The confrontation exploded in waves of accusations and pleas. Mother collapsed into a chair, sobbing about the shame, the community, the years wasted. You are killing me, she wailed, the words piercing like arrows. I knelt beside her, tears falling as I explained the years of hiding, the guilt that had nearly consumed me. This is not rebellion, Mother, it is survival. Father finally spoke, his voice hoarse. We only wanted security for you. I nodded, understanding the love behind the control, but refusing to bend. Lynn pulled me aside, whispering, you will regret this when the world turns its back. Her warning echoed my deepest fears, but I had weighed the options, the slow death of pretense versus the sharp pain of truth. Fatima stood by my side, silent, but unyielding, her presence a shield against the storm. The notary cleared her throat, gently suggesting we handle the legal matters first. I signed the dissolution of any prior agreements, my hand firm as I declared no marriage would take place. Alex excused himself quietly, the betrayal in his eyes a cost I had not anticipated, but one I accepted. As the family filed out, Mother paused at the door, her final words a mix of love and condemnation. You were my hope. I watched them leave, the door closing with a soft click that sounded like the end of an era. Fatima and I stood alone in the sudden silence, the weight of the moment settling. We had won our freedom, but the victory tasted bittersweet, the family bonds strained, possibly beyond repair. In the weeks that followed, the consequences rippled outward. Mother stopped speaking to me entirely. Father sent a single letter expressing disappointment without anger. Lynn reached out tentatively, but conversations remained guarded. My career took a hit as word spread, but new opportunities arose in more inclusive circles. Fatima and I moved in together, building a home filled with art and honest talks, the happiness we had fought for finally ours. Yet the internal scars remained, the nights I questioned if the pain I caused was justified. The societal prejudice lingered in sideways glances and lost invitations, but we faced them together, stronger for the trials. In the end, was Maya right to shatter her family's expectations for her own happiness? Or did her choice cause more pain than it healed?